this is how I have sold out every single time on every endeavor that I've gone on ever since I received this piece of information and I related it to how I could apply it. I have sold out on every single campaign I've ever run. Any time that I wanted to fill a client list up to a certain, I've done it. And you can use that same concept to grow until the constraint of the business is what's restricting you. For example, if you were in a business where you are training people, say, just use the gym business as an analogy. I'll use a couple of other ones, but let's start with that one. Say you had a hard time getting customers. Okay, now you've used this thing that I'm going to tell you, and it's gotten you the amount of customers. Now your restriction is not going to be, oh, I can't get customers. It's going to be the next thing, which is how many of those customers are you selling? How good is your sales process? And then say you get that good, now your issue might be actually delivering. It might be actually training trainers or getting in new trainers and creating systems and processes around that. And so what I can do is essentially break that and not make getting customers the thing that is restricting the business. That is my skill. And I'm not too dissimilar from the greatest marketer in the world, I would say today, is Alex Hormozy, bar none. And the reason why I say that is because he started out as a writer. He's someone that's very obsessed with language, and I'd say I have that same trait. I have that same skill, which is I'm hyper obsessed. I started out writing essays. I had an essay that I'd written that morning that ended up being nationally moderated. My teacher at the time saw something in it and read it and is like, oh, the insight in this and that. I'd written it that morning to perform about an hour later, and I was literally reading off the paper. But what I'm saying is there is an intrinsic skill. However, it is not dependent purely upon the level of communication that you're doing. Yes, when you work on those things, and that's where someone like me comes in, if you have the right wording, then it's about getting it out to the people. And so the number one thing that I can say about marketing, the number one thing that I can say about getting customers or finding the people who need your service is you need to find those people. Meaning what? There are many, many, many individuals who need exactly what you do as a service that are near you. They just don't know that you do it. They have no idea that you're doing what you're doing. A great example I can give you from my life is I have been doing YouTube for years at this point. Started up last year, August, is when I really started to put a strategy behind it and then really started to push. And that's when I really saw growth. But or from that point, from that August moving forward, I still met up with people in my own life, my own cousins, people who see my WhatsApp status, and I post about my YouTube every single day. Not sure if I did exactly at that time or what the strategy was at that point, but it reaffirmed this thing, the idea of you get sick of your stuff way before the people that you're trying to reach have even seen it, way before they even know what you do. You're already sick of this ad campaign, and it goes to the story about Henry Ford, right? He's walking past his CMO's office. He walks past it the 1 week. The next week he's walking past it. He sees this one ad. Next week he sees the ad again. Third week he sees that ad again. He walks in and he says, "Hey man, how long are we going to be running that ad for?" And then CMO says, "We haven't started running the ad." And it's exactly that. You get sick of your stuff before anyone else does. And so you need to remove that and stop thinking that you're bothering people, because there's a lot going on for all of us. We all have all these different things coming at us all at the same time. You're competing against TikTok, you're competing against people jumping off of skyscrapers, diving into buildings, like whatever the case is, there's a lot of stuff going on all the time. And you're trying to cut through that noise and get to the people who actually need your stuff. And so a lot of people need your stuff. They just don't know you exist. And how do you solve that? What does Sage Consultation do that helps solve that? Well, violence is the answer. The answer is to violently put yourself out there, not only through paid adverts, but there's more to life than paid ads. And this is with myself, what I experience is that people will use the most difficult form of advertising as their first form of advertising, because that's the only form of advertising that they know of. However, there are three other methods that are much easier to access that you could start doing today and that could change the face of your business today. which is warm outreach one to one. So people who've already given you permission to contact them one on one who may need your thing. Okay, before we get there, we don't just want leads. We don't just want people to know that we do this thing. We want qualified leads. We want warm leads. We want the type of person who would actually engage with your service or product or purchase your service or product. We want them to find out about your thing. Okay, and so you need to be particular in the language that you're using as you're going out. You need to be particular in your messaging. You need to speak very specifically to the type of person that you want to be attracting to you. And so that being said, say now we do have these qualified leads coming in. You want to make sure that of the people who have given you permission to contact them, they know what you do. And then from there you can go one to many people, and that's creating content. And then from there you can go one to one to people you don't know, that's cold outreach. Now these things are free. The last one is paid ads, which is one to many to people you don't know. Mind you, these three are completely free. Now you may scale it and put it to and get it to a point where you are hiring people and they're doing what needs to be done for you. But these three things are essentially, you can start from nothing, and for absolutely free you can let people know about your stuff. And that's the number one thing that people need in order to purchase your thing. They need to know it exists. And funny story about where I met with this concept, I'm sure it'll amuse some of you. uh, I was a wild boy when I was younger, and I always had this concept or idea that I'm sure I'm not unattractive, and I am certain because people always talked about at that time, with the wild wild west that is the internet, that hey, if she won't do it for you, there's someone out there she'd do it for. You're busy texting her first. There's someone out there that doesn't need to, like, before you text her, remember that there's someone who doesn't need to text her first. I'll bring it home. Wait. So, with that logic, I also understood that, wait, that means there's someone out there for which I'm the person who doesn't need sex first, and there's someone out there for which I'm the one she would do it for. And so let me find those people. And what was the answer? Violence. And so I got on this this habit, this routine where every time I was sitting down, every time I wasn't doing anything, and I would end up actually, now that I think about it retrospectively, spending hours doing cold outreach, spending hours DMing people, cold DMs, one on one. Hey, how you do? Okay, not just hey. I was kind of creative with it as well because I was advertising essentially. I just didn't realize it, and so it's going out there. And to some people, they were so ready to buy that a hey would have been enough. And with other people, you have to be more creative. You have to, maybe they have information on their profile, maybe they have, and at that time I'm one man, I'm not a big operation, so I can be as unique and specific as possible. I did the unscalable. And so these are essentially, to bring it back, these are essentially the laws of advertising. Is there are people who need your thing, and they are out there, and you need to be as violent as possible, as violent as it takes, in order to get out there to them. And so when you're very specific with your language, you don't need to DM everyone. You can pick very specifically who you DM, and that allows you to speak very specifically to them, to their pain points, to what they need, and to how you can provide it. And so, with all that being said, my number one thing when it comes to advertising is, yes, you do need to have a good service, because after we get all these customers in for you, and after we do work on your sales process and your selling, when we work on the things that require language, you are going to need to operate at a certain level, and you are going to need to be able to actually fulfill the service at a certain level. That's 100,000% very important. But there are only two ways that you can grow a business, and that is by getting more customers and making those customers worth more. So if you aren't spending your time outside of actual fulfillment doing one of those two things, and you think you're growing the business, you're essentially wasting your time. And so let me touch on this notebook. I thought of making this. Okay, I'm very big on doing things that are multiple points of leverage. Like I like to hit as many boxes as possible with one movement. And so this is my one movement. This video is going to go out publicly. It's going to be on my channel, but I'm also going to send it as an attachment to potential clients, leads, you watching, yes. And it is essentially out there to not only serve the purpose of informing people that I know what I know, but it's also serving as a piece of content, which is basically building my own warm audience. And at the same time, I'm getting it out there that I do know what I'm talking about, essentially, and I'm breaking down a barrier that is a need to believe. So there are certain need to believes, and you want to have as few need to believes as possible. I don't know why I'm getting deep into consulting work, but anyway, there are certain need to believes that people have to have before they make a purchase. And so if you can make as few of those need to believes as possible, then you can sell more things, you know? So Amazon, great example, very few need to believes. All you need to believe is that if you put your thing up, people will buy it. And so the only effort that you need to put is just going through a tutorial, learning how to put your thing up, and then that's it. The only thing you need to believe with Uber is if this notification comes in, then I'm going to get paid because I already have the car. There are already people who need the rides. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Is you want to remove the points of friction, as many points of friction as possible. And so for me, it may be okay. I understand that this is something that can be done, which was my first problem working with smaller businesses. Is they didn't understood that it could be done because they've never done anything that was high leverage before. And so working with bigger business, I have the advantage of, okay, so these people know that certain things can be done, and it can be one move that does a lot for you, like that. And so for those people, okay, I believe that it can be done. Why should I believe you? And so this is me flexing the information just a little bit. So I did come in here knowing that I have super high leverage and knowing that I'm doing one thing that's going to hit a lot of things. So I was a little bit overexcited, but I do have a notebook here that is going to kind of hit a few points that I want to get to, that I want to make sure that I get in this video. And so essentially, yes, I hit on this, which is leads alone are not enough. You need warm leads. You need qualified leads, right? That's what you're looking for. You need engaged leads, and then we can talk about lead magnets when you do eventually text me back after receiving this, or if you're down in the comment section and you're a business owner yourself and you want to learn more, we can talk about lead mags and stuff like that. And we already talked about warm outreach, free content, cold outreach, paid ads. And in terms of the scripting of those things, that's what I'm good at. I'm in um, a wordsmith of sorts. You know, copywriting is one of the skills that I do have, and I have people on my team who are able to build the things around it. If you don't have the infrastructure, you know, build the websites. We're able to make the posters. You know, the things that we actually need to do to fulfill the service we have already. I just need you to believe that I know what I'm talking about and I know what I'm doing. And so that's the purpose of this video. Uh, yeah, essentially, those are the main things. The rest we can cover in conversation, but that's basically the basics of advertising, and that's what I understand. That allows me at any point. The constraint of the business is never I can't get customers, because there are nearly an infinite amount of people out there. Compared to me as one man, there's no way I could service 3 billion people. There's no way I could service 100 doing what I do, the type of information work that I do, right? Now, through content and certain pieces, you can get leverage and you can reach a certain number of people all at the same time. That's one thing. But talking about the fulfillment specifically of this service, there's no way that I could reach that I could work with directly 100 people and still fulfill at the level that I want to fulfill. And so the capacity for me is usually around 10. And so I've been able to keep the same 10 people in my program from the time I started to where we are now. And even now, going on to bigger business, I'm still keeping them on because I made them promises essentially, and I'm not in the business of getting people's hopes up and leaving them there. You know, so I will continue to work with them. I will continue to grow their businesses, but I'm no longer accepting businesses at that base, at that cap. However, what I need you to understand is when I first came out, ever since I understood how to craft offers, And then I understood marketing. Ever since I came out, whenever I had a target, I hit that target. And so I may not have a lot. I may have a very small team and I am just one man with a limited base of knowledge. But the one thing that I know how to do is get customers. And the other thing I know how to do is actually sell those customers. Because again, it's not just about getting leads, it's about getting engaged leads and then turning those engaged leads into sales. It's about conversions, the whole conversion cycle. And so that is what I specialize in. So essentially, I just wanted to get that message out there that I may not be good at a lot of things. And in terms of involvement in the operation, this and that, listen, I'm not a part of your industry. I don't know your craft as well as you do, but I know how to get customers and I know how to get sales. And so, trust me, believe in me. I've been Sage, signing out.